There was lipstick on the ceiling, bright coral, shaped like a fingerprint, just above the living room fan. I stared at it for a long time, trying to figure out the physics. How does lipstick get on a ceiling? Did it fly? Did it jump? Did it crawl up the wall on its own? Joelle said it was nothing. Old smudge, she muttered, brushing past me with a coffee mug that wasn't ours. That's when I noticed the mug too. Black ceramic, gold rim, letter M engraved on the side. We don't know anyone whose name starts with M. That was 4 days before the party. Since then, I'd been tracking ghosts, finding receipts for places we'd never been, music recommendations on her phone for songs she hated, earrings I didn't recognize tucked into the laundry. But still, I said nothing. Because I needed one moment. One unshakable truth. One door she couldn't slam shut with a lie. So when she told me on Friday she had a tight guest list rooftop thing at her colleague's condo, just team members, no spouses, I nodded. But I knew. I knew exactly where it was. And I knew what I was going to leave inside her purse. A ring. And a note that would make her hands shake so hard she'd drop her wine glass. And that, my friends, is where this whole thing truly begins. The building didn't even have a name on the front. Just a clean concrete wall and a silver buzzer panel that looked like it hadn't been touched since 2009. But I knew she was in there. I knew because I watched her walk in from the alley behind the gas station across the street. The same alley she told me never to go near because it smelled like boiling trash. That was 2 hours ago. I waited in my car with the windows halfway down, engine off, fingers twitching on the steering wheel. I kept thinking about the lipstick on the ceiling again. About how it wasn't just a smudge. How when I looked closer later that night, it wasn't even a fingerprint. It was a kiss mark, perfectly shaped. Someone had to stand on something to plant it there. Someone wanted it to be seen. And that stupid mug with the gold M, I hadn't seen it again since Monday. She must have taken it back to wherever it came from. Or to whoever it came from. Anyway, I knew tonight was the only shot I had. She hadn't checked the purse since she left, and I made sure the ring box was tucked deep into the inner side pocket. The note was beneath it. No envelope. Just folded once. No name on it. No signature. Just one sentence, in my handwriting. You don't lose things. You hide them. That ring had been missing for 7 months. It was the one I gave her the night she said yes. She claimed she left it at the gym, slipped off during yoga. Cried over it. Made a post in the local Facebook group. Asked our neighbor if she'd seen it. I found it last week in a zippered pouch of her suitcase. The one she said she hadn't used since our canceled trip to Nashville. The one she told me still had nothing but an old beach towel inside. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted her to find it somewhere inconvenient. Somewhere she couldn't spin the story fast enough. And what better place than at a party surrounded by the same people she'd been lying about. At 9:36 p.m., I saw her. She stepped out onto the balcony with a wine glass in one hand and her phone in the other. Her smile wasn't real. I could tell from the way her fingers tapped her thigh while she laughed. Her dress shimmered in the overhead string lights, emerald green again. Her favorite color when she wants something. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I didn't need to. Because the second she opened her purse and saw the black velvet box, her face dropped like a curtain yanked from the ceiling. She looked around, confused, panicked, lips moving but saying nothing. And then, she pulled out the note. I watched her read it twice. First fast, then slowly. Then she clutched it like it might scream if she let go. The man next to her, tall, shaved head, white button down, asked something. She shoved the purse behind her back and forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. He didn't buy it. Neither did I. But I'd already seen enough. I didn't come here for answers. I came to ruin the illusion. And the night had only just begun. From across the street, I could see her trying to pick a lie. You know that moment when someone's face goes blank because their brain is flipping through excuses like flashcards and nothing fits? That's what Joelle looked like on that balcony. Frozen, but not in fear. Frozen in strategy. She didn't put the note back in the purse. She folded it and slipped it under her phone case. That part almost made me laugh. As if hiding it could undo it. As if she could go back to sipping her wine and pretending she wasn't being watched. The man beside her leaned in. His body language shifted. No more casual elbows on the railing. Now it was direct. Focused. Like he was asking real questions. And Joelle? She started shaking her head. Laughing, even. That nervous, high-pitched giggle she does when she's trying to change the subject. I've heard it dozens of times. At parties, at dinners, when she didn't know someone's name or forgot our anniversary date in front of my parents. But this time, it wasn't charming. It was desperate. I didn't need to hear her words to know the story she was constructing. Probably something like, "Oh, Daryl's just dramatic," or "He has trust issues," or maybe even, "This must be a prank. He's always doing weird stuff like this." She'd say it with a wink, a smirk, a lightness that made me look like the unstable one. But that man, Marlowe maybe, didn't buy it. His expression darkened, lips pressed tight. He asked her something. She blinked fast, like she was offended. Then I saw it, the smallest detail, but it changed everything. He stepped back, away from her. That's when I realized something I didn't expect. She hadn't just been lying to me. She'd been lying to him, too. And suddenly, I wasn't the only person she had to perform for. She reached for his hand. He pulled it away, said something sharp. She glanced toward the apartment door, toward the other guests. For a split second, I thought she might bolt. But then, right as she turned back to him, her eyes flicked down to the purse, and she realized it was still wide open. That's when she saw the second thing I'd left. It wasn't just the ring and the note. I had printed a photo, not of us, not of a romantic memory, but of the ring itself, sitting in the zippered pouch where I found it. The photo was dated, time-stamped. She didn't know I owned a thermal label printer until now. I watched her swallow so hard I thought she might choke. The man asked something again. His voice was louder now. Someone else on the balcony turned to look. A woman in a blue dress. Then another. Soon half the people outside were aware, not of me, not of the whole story, but of something. Something uncomfortable. Something real. Joelle's perfect evening was cracking. Not because I exposed her, but because she didn't know which story to commit to. And when someone has too many lies to choose from, they pick none. They run. Which is exactly what she did next. She disappeared so fast, I almost missed it. 1 second she was clutching the purse like a lifeline, eyes darting between her colleague and the balcony door, and the next she was gone, vanished inside the apartment like a gust of smoke. I didn't see where she went. Neither did Marlowe. He stood there for a moment, stunned, staring at the space she'd just occupied like maybe she'd come back and fill it again. She didn't. The rooftop crowd went awkwardly quiet after that. A few tried to keep the party going, raising glasses, laughing too loud. But the damage had been done. Something had cracked through the atmosphere, and everyone could feel it. I waited 10 minutes. Then 15. No sign of her. I should have left. That was the plan. Drop the ring, plant the note, let her unravel under her own weight. But instead, I did something stupid. I parked my car across from the building, connected my laptop to the burner phone I'd hidden in her purse, and opened the live feed. Yeah, there was a camera. I hadn't told you that part yet, have I? It was nothing fancy. A cheap little keychain lens, clipped to the inner lining. Barely visible unless you knew what to look for. I wasn't proud of it, and I had no idea if it would work, but now, it gave me eyes. And what I saw? It wasn't what I expected. She was in a bathroom. Somewhere dim. The lighting flickered slightly. Old bulb, maybe. I could see her reflection in a wall mirror, standing over the sink, muttering something under her breath. Her hands were trembling as she pulled everything out of her purse. Wallet, lip balm, keys, the ring box, the note, the photo. She laid them all out like evidence at a crime scene, then stared at them with a look I couldn't place. Not fear, not guilt, rage. She wasn't ashamed. She was angry that I'd caught her. Joelle leaned over the sink and gritted her teeth. Then she tore the photo in half. Then again, until it was confetti floating into the basin. The note was next. She crumpled it violently, stuffed it into her bra like she couldn't bear to let it go entirely. And then, as she held the ring box in her hand, she whispered one name. Milo. Not Marlowe. Milo. I froze. She hadn't mentioned that name. Ever. Not in passing, not in conversation, not even in her sleep when she talked in whispers after NyQuil. But she said it like a plea, like a secret prayer, like someone she needed. And seconds later, she picked up her phone and made a call. I couldn't hear the voice on the other end. I hadn't wired for audio, just video. But I could see her mouth. I could read the panic in her voice. She was saying things like, he knows. And no, I don't think anyone else saw it. And what do I do now? Then she paused, nodded slowly, and said something that chilled me straight to the spine. No, he'll never tell anyone. He's too weak. He just wanted to make a point. Too weak? That's how she saw me. Not heartbroken. Not devastated. Just weak. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at the screen. But at some point, I realized the camera had gone black. She must have found it. Or the battery died. Either way, the feed cut. The show was over. But I wasn't done. Because now I had a name. And whoever Milo was, he wasn't ready for what was coming next. Sleep didn't come that night. I wasn't even pretending. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, counting the seconds between the creaks in the floorboards above, wondering if she was pacing, deleting messages, or crafting a new story. She came home after 2 a.m. I heard the door close, her heels tapping softly into the hallway, the click of the lock turning like a punctuation mark at the end of a lie. She didn't come into the bedroom. Didn't even peek. Good, because by that point, I was already neck-deep in research. I'm not good with confrontation. I never have been. I flinch during arguments. I stutter when I try to stand up for myself. And Joelle, she always counted on that. Knew how to steamroll, spin, manipulate the moment. But online, with silence and time on my side, I could be someone else. Someone efficient. I opened her old Facebook photos. She hadn't updated in months, maybe years, but the comments told a different story. Buried under a beach group shot from last summer was a name I hadn't seen before, Milo Jensen. It was a single comment. That was a wild weekend fire, need a round two sometime. Nothing crazy, but the name was real. I clicked. His profile was private, but his profile picture wasn't. And there he was. Short dark beard, 2 clean sneakers, smug smile like he'd just gotten away with something. He was sitting on a boat, sunglasses on, a bottle of something sparkling in his hand. And next to him, Joelle. She was cropped halfway out, but I'd recognize that side profile anywhere. The curve of her ear, the small birthmark near her jawline. She wasn't tagged, but she was there. Smiling. Relaxed. Wearing the same bikini she claimed she'd lost 2 summers ago when it blew off the hotel balcony. She didn't lose it. She just never wanted to wear it around me again. I took a screenshot. Reverse searched the image. Found it reposted on a boating enthusiast forum. Some low-traffic thread titled, Weekend in Cape Charles from 3 months back. Turns out Milo wasn't just some fling. He had a boat, a name, a reputation. He was a startup guy? One of those pseudo-entrepreneur types who sold a fake AI service to a bored investor and made just enough money to rent a high-rise condo and pretend he invented the concept of brunch. I found his LinkedIn, his company, a podcast interview. He even had merch. God help me, merch. I stared at his photo for a long time. This wasn't about Joelle falling out of love. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It wasn't her being lonely or misunderstood. No, this was about upgrading. She saw me as some dusty floor model she could replace once she had something sleeker, shinier, richer. But she wasn't ready to leave yet. Because she still needed my name, my credit, my stability. That safety net she could bounce back to if Milo ever ghosted her or, God forbid, actually wanted to commit. So I gave her what she needed. That morning, I made her breakfast. French toast. Just how she liked it. Brought it into the kitchen and kissed her on the forehead like nothing happened. She looked at me for a long time, searching for signs of bitterness, suspicion, revenge. I gave her none. Sleep okay? She asked. Eventually, I said. She smiled. And for the first time, I saw it. Not the love, not the warmth, not even the guilt. What I saw was calculation. She thought she had reset the game. Like she'd found the board flipped last night, and now she had quietly set it back, pretending the pieces were never moved. But what she didn't realize was that I wasn't playing her game anymore. I was writing new rules. And Milo? He was about to get a front row seat. I didn't text Milo. I didn't DM him or comment under one of his over-filtered rooftop selfies or even try to friend him. No, that would have been too obvious, too confrontational. That's not how people like him operate anyway. Guys like Milo live in curated bubbles. They don't react to angry husbands in their inbox. They swipe them away like calendar alerts. So instead, I let him discover me without realizing it. I printed the same photo of the ring I left in Joelle's purse, the one from her suitcase, along with a cropped still of her holding it in that dim bathroom, frozen with her mouth open mid-sentence, panic all over her face. No note, no explanation, just the images side by side. I mailed them in a plain envelope to the listed address of Milo's startup, using the name J. Langston in the return corner. Random enough to avoid suspicion, real enough to get past the front desk. Then I waited. And while I waited, I smiled. A real one, not the fake kind I'd mastered over the last few weeks. Because Joelle had no idea anything had changed. She thought the whole rooftop incident was the end of it, that I had gotten my little dramatic flourish out of my system, dropped the ring and the note like a sad ex-boyfriend in a TV drama, and crawled back into my emotional corner to lick my wounds. She had no idea I was documenting her, step by step, move by move. She came home that Friday night smelling like new cologne, something too musky to be her own. She said she'd been out with Lana again, just a few girls venting over cocktails. I nodded and asked if she wanted dessert. She said yes. I served it with a side of silence. By Sunday, Milo had blocked me on every platform I'd never messaged him on. That's how I knew he got the envelope. That's also when things got weird. Joelle started checking her phone more than usual. She kept leaving the room to answer work calls, but her voice didn't sound like someone discussing wireframes and launch dates. One night I passed her bedroom door and heard her whisper, "I swear I didn't know he'd do anything. I thought he'd just drop it." Then, the icing. She started locking her phone with a new passcode. Too late, Joelle. I already had everything I needed. But here's the part one didn't expect. She began trying again. Not in the big ways. Not candlelit dinners or handwritten apology notes. No, Joelle wasn't that sentimental. But in the small ways. Making coffee in the morning before I woke up. Asking about my day when I came home. Resting her head on my shoulder when we watched something, like she used to. Like she was trying to stitch the marriage back together, thread by manipulated thread. It would have worked, too, 6 months ago. But now, I had leverage. I had patience. And most importantly, I had a deadline. Our 5th anniversary was coming up. A small milestone to some, but to Joelle, symbolic. She loved anniversaries. She loved the idea of milestones more than the actual relationship. Instagram posts, dinner reservations, carefully captioned proof that we were still goals. And this one was going to be unforgettable. Not for her, for everyone watching her. Because this time, I wasn't just setting a trap for Joelle. I was inviting the entire audience she'd been performing for. Joelle booked the dinner herself. I let her. She made the reservation 3 weeks in advance at this pretentious rooftop bistro downtown, with a name so minimalistic it sounded like a whisper, just one word, in lowercase letters. The kind of place where the portions are the size of your palm, the plates cost more than your car payment, and the lighting is dim enough to make lies look romantic. It was her idea. 5th anniversary. Half a decade, babe. Let's dress up. Let's make it special. I agreed like a good husband should. Smiled, nodded, said things like, "Sounds perfect, and should I wear that blue jacket you like?" She looked at me then. Really looked, like she was trying to decode what I was thinking, but I kept my expression warm and neutral. That same bland tone people use when they say it's fine and don't mean it. It's a language we both understood fluently by now. The guest list? That was my touch. You know, I told her casually, it might be nice to invite a few people. Just the usual crowd. Your team, some friends, Lana, maybe even your parents? She hesitated, just for a second. Then she smiled and said, "That could be fun." It was more than fun. It was perfect. I spent the next 2 weeks gathering pieces. Little digital artifacts. Screenshots of messages. Archived versions of Milo's deleted posts. Location pings. An exported copy of our shared calendar showing Joelle's fake conferences that overlapped with his out-of-town trips. I laid it all out in a private gallery link. Password protected. Tastefully designed. No rage. No commentary. Just a trail of truth dressed up like evidence in a courtroom drama. And then, 5 days before the dinner, I emailed it to everyone on the guest list. Subject line, "Before you raise a glass." No signature. No accusation. Just the link and the password. I didn't check who opened it. I didn't need to. Because by the time we walked into that restaurant on the night of our anniversary, I could feel the tension rolling off the walls like smoke. People were already seated at the long table Joelle had reserved. 12 guests. 2 empty chairs. A dozen stares that flicked from me to her, then quickly away. Like they couldn't look directly at her without seeing the reflection of what she'd become. She didn't notice at first. She was too busy performing. Kissed me on the cheek. Waved at her coworkers. Hugged Lana. Made a little joke about how she still couldn't believe we'd lasted 5 years with all her mood swings. Everyone laughed, but no one laughed hard. The kind of laugh people give when they're trying to ignore a smell they can't quite identify. Dinner was awkward. The server came twice before anyone ordered. Joelle kept glancing around like something was wrong with the lighting or the temperature, but it wasn't that. It was the silence. The unspoken things pressing against the walls like fog. And then, right on schedule, the toast. Joelle stood at 7:59 p.m., lifted her glass, clinked it gently with a spoon like some character from a wedding scene, smiled. "I just want to say," she began, looking straight at me, "this year has been complicated, but we're still standing. And I couldn't ask for a better partner to survive the madness with." She raised her glass, and nobody joined her. Not one hand lifted, not even Lana's. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I've ever heard. Her smile twitched. Her arm wavered. Slowly, she lowered the glass like a white flag. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. The gallery had already spoken. And the best part? We still had dessert coming. The server brought out the cake anyway. A small chocolate mousse with 5 years written in cursive across the plate in raspberry glaze. Joelle had clearly ordered it in advance. Probably imagined everyone clapping. Maybe even someone filming a little video for her Instagram story. All smiles and candles and false intimacy. Instead, it sat in the middle of the table like a tombstone. No one reached for a fork. She didn't cry. I'll give her that. She didn't make a scene. She just stared at the plate, eyes locked on the word years, like it suddenly looked foreign. Like the weight of time had finally hit her, not as something to celebrate, but as something to account for. She whispered, "Can we go?" I said, "In a minute." And I stood up. I thanked the table for coming. Genuinely. I said I hoped the food was good, even if the company was unexpectedly revealing. I gave a quiet nod to Lana, who looked like she wanted to evaporate. I even clinked my glass softly, out of sheer formality, then turned to Joelle and said the last thing I would ever say to her in front of all of them. "I hope you figure out what you're actually looking for." She didn't respond. Just sat there, eyes wide, jaw slightly open, like a character frozen in the middle of a glitching game. And I walked out. I didn't go home. I had packed a bag earlier that day, not a dramatic suitcase or anything, just a duffel. A couple of shirts, charger, cash, notebook. I drove south for hours. No music, just road. I stopped at a little coastal town where nobody knew my name and checked into a guest house run by an old couple who asked 0 questions. I slept for 12 straight hours. The next morning, I walked the beach barefoot with a coffee in one hand and nothing in the other. No guilt. No weight. I didn't check my phone. I didn't open any messages. Because I knew what they'd say. There'd be apologies, excuses, maybe even silence. But I wasn't chasing any of it. For once, I didn't feel like a man searching for answers. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't a villain. I was just done. And being done, as it turns out, felt a lot like freedom. Weeks passed. Then months. I filed for divorce quietly. She didn't contest. No drawn-out drama. No courtroom battles. She didn't even ask for anything. Maybe she knew she'd already taken too much. I started writing again. Not stories like this. Actual stories. Screenplays. Weird little characters and messy dialogue and lives that weren't mine. I sent one to a festival on a whim. It got shortlisted. I met someone eventually. Not in a movie kind of way. No fireworks or slow-motion glances across a bookstore. Just someone kind. Someone calm. Someone who didn't make me feel like I had to audition for my own life. And last month, I proposed. Different ring. Different woman. Same hand. New story. This time, no secrets in purses. No lipstick on ceilings. No hidden mugs or burner phones or balcony exits. Just love. Real, boring, beautiful love. And when she said yes, I didn't feel victorious. I felt whole.